Hi guys, welcome back to Color in Christ podcast. I have my amazing co-host, I keep saying cohorts, with me as we go into one of our most probably controversial topics, but one that's so needed. And it is a 3-letter word, not the 4-letter word LOVE, but the 3-letter word SEX, sex. Okay, ladies.
I thought you were going to say God. God.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's under, G-O-D and, well, we don't put anything above God. So G-O-D, S-E-X.
Okay.
Let's just get into it. This just already tells you what this conversation is going to be. So now, I know that we are all individually on an abstinent celibacy journey or what have you, or have been, all the things. What are your thoughts with this journey, the good, the bad? What are some of your thoughts as you have walked this out?
I think it's a good journey. In the beginning, it was difficult because I was married, and it's a natural. The sexual desire is a natural desire, so it's there, and it's a good desire. But as I've grown in being single and being celibate, I think it gives you anything that you release or remove from your life always leaves more room for other things. And for me, those other things have been Christ, the Word, God, and watching Him work in that situation has really been very helpful. Yeah, to know that He's that personal, that not only do I see you as a minister, as a mother, I see you, Jackie, and I know what you feel, and I know what you need, and I'm here for you. So this, for me, I think it's been, in the beginning, again, it's hard, but as I have grown in it, I think it has been, it's been a blessing, really. Yeah.
What about you?
So I'm abstinent, and I've never been in relationships before, so it's been more like learning, don't have sex before marriage. That was kind of the conversation growing up. I grew up in Christian school, so I even had to take these courses called CPR, and it was creating positive relationships, where they walked you through this is the sex stage and things like that. So it was very intense kind of thing. It was kind of just don't do it, until you're married. But there was never really always the explanation of why it was important to not do it. So I feel like I had to learn that through when I had a conversation with my family, about sex. Eventually, that's when it was kind of bringing in the Word and knowing that it's because your body's the Holy Spirit, and marriage is that covenant. So that's why it's sexual desire, I think, should be rooted in that instead of doing it before marriage.
So I think, can we all agree, or what are the thoughts along? There's an idea of abstaining, saying I'm just not having sex, and the act of celibacy. Yeah. And I only say that for me is one, just being in alignment. When I initially was celibate, I would say I was abstinent. It was just I was going through a drought. And then it segued, and then where I made the choice. And I wish I had have been more intentional, because I think when you say you're celibate versus I'm just being abstinent, well, at least for me, celibacy I would have tuned into God and did more spirit work, like you said, because I just was it's just a dry season, I'm abstinent, and segued into celibacy. I didn't do the work, whereas if I'm making an intentional choice to be celibate versus just I'm abstaining from sex. So that was a learning for me. And when I got in another relationship being celibate, there was a lot of work that I was like, whoa, I wasn't even though I was abstaining here, my heart posture toward God, there was still some work that I needed to do. And so the good of it has been, I can hear clearly more, and there is a peace with having my body protected. But you guys know me, I'm going to bring up the bad. Because once I started dating again, nobody talks about this, and it's so funny. I do know this actress. Was listening to another podcast, and the actress on there, Tasha Smith, she talked about being celibate. She was celibate for 8 years. And she said, one of the things they don't tell you, which I experienced, is you do lose your sense of being around a man, about not, and I'm not talking about having sex, literally just there's a way of a woman when well, at least for me, when I was sexually active, you just have a finesse and a familiarity around men that you lose, and you have to find your body, find your femininity in that way again. And I thought, oh, is this just me? Until I heard Tasha Smith talk about her celibacy journey, and when she no longer is celibate, but I'm not telling her business, she probably said this, but she's not, and she was like, that was what it was for her. And that has been, I don't know, again, when you reconcile, I'm doing God's will because I'm not married and just honoring my body and honoring him in that way. But you're losing when I just assumed, oh, and I had to find that, like, you know, I had to find my body and my comfort again. It even was something so simple as like a guy that I dated, and, you know, I was over at his house after church. We were watching a football game, and I was like, oh, I'm going to change out of my church clothes. So I went into the room, and he was just like, oh, I came out in like tights and but I didn't even think like, normally I would have come like, I'm not going to come out in a teddy or anything like that. But there was just a certain way versus I'm just in sweats and I was like, it did not even dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me because I was so far removed. Or like, there was another situation with a guy in dating where I was sitting far apart from him, like completely. And he thought I was scared of him, like scary. And I'm like, my brain didn't even compute that. It was just when sex is not on the table, you just don't even think. So it has been a realigning of what is sensual to me, my sensuality, my way of flirting. I'm like, God, I'm over here doing your will. It should have been a pop back in, and it really wasn't. It was a realigning. So that's been a journey for me, but the good has definitely been the peace and the clarity with which I could hear God that it was clouded before.
Well, that says a lot about how we as society, how we put sex on like the pedestal that it is on, like it is the end point, all of that. I mean, you look at society and you can see that we made sex almost our God, but sex was not why. It is a blessing from God. The real reason that a man and a woman were to come together was to form a family and to grow the world. I know you're looking at me like Jackie, but to grow the world. And sex was like, and the sexual part, well, that's how he said make babies, okay, which is why we were supposed to come together. The good feeling part is just a part of our God being a good God and giving us that extra good feeling.
He's an amazing
And we
God.
have done what we tend to do with all the good stuff is we've put it on the pedestal, but that's not the pedestal. The pedestal is the relationship, the man, the woman, filling the earth, multiplying the earth, making community, building community. That's and in us doing that work, he said, I'm gonna make it good
amazing.
for y'all. Yeah. Amazing. But we put the good part above everything else. And it does change when that's not why you're with a man. I'm not with a man so that, he will want to have sex with me. Then it does change.
Yeah, it's really weird. Have you felt pressure in a different way? And I only say that because, again, I think your generation is so unique in that you grew up inundated with images and bombarded in a way that we didn't. We all have just because of society, but we had a choice, turn on, turn off, in a way where it's just the way of the world now with social media. You can't get away from it.
You really can't.
We are older, so we have a different perspective, but you're literally kind of born into that. What's that like for you?
It's hard because even the TV shows, all they depict it for kids my age, it's always sex. It's always like they're having sex, they're doing this. Like even when I watched Euphoria once and they were having sex, multiple times. And it was like I had to keep fast forwarding every time. It's like one of those things where it was also like taboo to talk about too. Even just growing up in school, we didn't really talk about it. It was like sex, oh no. It's like what you said, sex, we don't even say the word. So it's weird. It's kind of like this mixed, I guess, opinions that are happening. Some people are pro-sex and they just want to do it, I think, in my generation. And there's some people that more like, no, we don't talk about it, we keep it taboo, we don't speak on it at all. And then there's people kind of where I am at in the middle, we probably should talk about it. We just probably shouldn't do it yet, you know. So it's just, I don't know. It's just different.
With that being said, because of that journey, you know, you're left to your devices. Let's just even take it a step further. What do we think about in the waiting period, totally abstaining, or do you think what about masturbation? Is that something that, you know, is considered okay in the eyes of God? Is that a sin? What are your thoughts around the thought of masturbation?
I would say that's a sin, because you're like trying to receive pleasure from that, and I feel like the whole point is supposed to be like prioritizing God over, you know, your body, like, because like your body is not your own when you give your life to Christ. So it's like everything that you ever had or like follow, like, is now you have like God who has authority over you, you know. So I feel like in that way, like you're idolizing this thing because you want this pleasure when you're not seeking God, when you could have been seeking God and getting that pleasure, like that love that you're trying to receive. So I say yes, it's a sin.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really did not. It became a sin for me. I did not see it as a sin at first. It did become a sin because it became an idol. So I thought my idea of what would make masturbation a sin is if you know, masturbating, you see a person because you're lusting after a particular person. But I was able to masturbate and craft in my head, like, imagine. So it wasn't a person, so I thought I'm okay because I'm not seeing a man, a physical man in person that I know or something, in lusting. I'm my imagination and I'm able to masturbate. But it became a sin for me where God, it was because it became an idol. I preferred, like, I really enjoyed it. Like, waking up in the morning where you said my time could be, let's get in the word and give, it would be like, well, let me masturbate before I go to work. You know, because it's
like
so,
you were having like if you were having sex.
Yeah, and that's when God was like, oh, well, maybe God was telling me before. But let me tell you, when I heard it, that it is crossed over into something that is ungodly. When I heard it was when it was an idol for me, and I had to actively work to stop masturbating, but I did not, because again, my interpretation was like, oh, you're not supposed to lust after a man, so as long as it's not a particular real live man, then you're okay with that or whatever.
So I think it's again it is because it's we're the gift. We want the gift, which is the sexual fulfillment, the feeling, the sex, without the actual what God intended for us to. So it's like we want the gift without the giver. You know, we're trying to get that sexual feeling, but that's all connected to something bigger than just us having an orgasm.
Is it really just?
It is bigger than an orgasm.
Do you really just? Yeah, but the orgasm is so great. Do you really think it's just like going further in God? Like that's what we're to do. Just really God. It really fills you up. For me, I think I have to just be honest. I'm going to say that I'm only filled by God because I'm still hopeful for marriage. So I feel like, okay, I'm okay to preserve because I understand the sanctity of that and wanting to offer myself blameless before my husband now, having that wisdom. But if it was just like, I'm just single, you know, if I was in that space, I think I would find it hard to say that, you know, God feels that, like, of what it is to have that pleasure, because I've experienced it. It would be different for you who hasn't, but if you have experienced that, I just think you're saying that God has done that for you.
I don't miss it anymore. I don't feel that I don't chase it. I don't want it. I don't feel like I'm being left out because other people are having sex and I'm not.
That's a good point. Left out. Do you feel left out? Because you haven't experienced that yet?
I used to, because especially sometimes people would like believe like, oh, look at you, you never had a boyfriend, never had sex or anything like that, and it was sometimes it'll bother me at times, but then I don't know, I think it's just it really is just my relationship with God. Like it just, since that He's always like covered me and like protected me and guided me to where I don't feel as alone about it, like, you know. And when you really like give your full surrender to Him, like you stop worrying about what other people are thinking about it because you're just focusing on Him, you know. So
well, what about this? Like, is if you were to have sex, dating, is fornication a sin? So we said that masturbation is a sin. This is the consensus. Masturbation is a sin. Is fornication a sin?
It's outside of marriage, yes.
Is that my only thing pushback with that is, and that's why I pose this question to us, is that really in the Bible?
I think it is.
You need to be having casual sex, but it's not a 10 commandment. It's not, and the idea of when you go marriage, so if you're dating someone and you're committed in dating someone and you've taken a vow with that person that you're going to do life together, you haven't done the paperwork, are you married in heart? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you really operating? Now, if you're just like, in your heart, you know, because we say God looks at the heart. If your heart, you know, this is just what I'm doing right now, then I feel like that is a sin and you're accountable. But if you're like, this person I'm doing life with, we are partners. We have not officially gone to a courthouse and but this is we're doing life together. This is who I'm having sex with. Is this still a sin? Technically, I'm not, Bible scholar, but I know it's not in the 10 Commandments. And when I was reading like Leviticus, like the laws that were given, it was again under you do need to be considered like your man and wife together. But, I'm like, that's defined. That to me can be loosely defined. God's looking at heart and not law,
Lear's looking up.
Girl, look it up. Look at our scholar, our 2024.
Paul says that fornicators are not going to enter into heaven. He says that.
Yeah.
The word and the word says that our body is a temple. It does say that.
Yes, it does.
And then it also says that we are to be subject to the laws of the land, even though our heart may say whatever. The law of the land is you're married. So that's what the word says. So I would say yes, it is a sin. Fornication is a sin.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. You're right. We are subject to the laws of the land, so you need to actually get the paperwork and do it so that you can be in alignment. Yeah. Are there any other thoughts around sex, sexual purity? What about soul ties? I think that's a really serious thing, and it's not, in the pleasure of sex and the wanting to have that, it hasn't been discussed enough that when you give your body to someone, you open yourself up to be linked up to them in a way that, even though you separate, the relationship falls apart, that soul tie is there, and there's a process to break that. I've experienced that before. It's not to be taken lightly. And so you were wise, one, to just really be, stand 10 toes down in your faith and your commitment, because it's a really serious thing that I don't even think we talk about in the church or as amongst believers, the soul tie. We just say don't have sex, the sin part of it, but there's a whole nother component about just a soul tie with someone that's really important to kind of focus on. Yeah,
because it's supposed to be in the context of marriage, and when God said then the man and the woman will become one flesh. So yes, that's supposed to be in the context of marriage. When you're a receiver and you're receiving someone else's spirit into you, there is a tie there that's difficult to break, and so because it's supposed to the
wisdom of us, we know.
Because it is supposed to be, and he said, man, you become one flesh. And that's the tool that he uses to do that. You become one flesh. And it's hard to separate that. It is. So it's a good thing not to. And nobody ever talks about it. Yeah. They just, they look at it as just that physical act. And they don't talk about how deeply it does actually go into your life and your spirit and your body. And
so with that being said, what do you think about kissing? Kissing, because for me, kissing seemed innocent, but I have dated
dating. Kissing is foreplay. So
kissing can't be innocent.
It's foreplay on the cheek. You mean kissing on the cheek?
No, I mean mouth.
Yeah, that's been a Holocaust generation, because I even asked my parents is it okay to kiss on lips and things or what's the take? But I think it's based off preference. I think boundary wise, if you're not gonna fall into temptation, and you could maybe be okay if God leads you to. But I feel like if it's gonna lead both of y'all into temptation, you probably shouldn't.
I was even thinking of it from a soul tie, because again, I'm a kisser. Let's be intimate, let's do it. And I dated a guy, and he was like, that's a thing for him.
Like-
kissing and taking, because you really are, if you're not gonna, but it's because you're,
It's
it's really
foreplay.
intimate. And I'm like, I never looked at it like this. I never did. Well, we could go on for hours about this topic, but I think we had a good, stepping our foot in the water and gave women, not just women, but people in general, some thoughts, important thoughts to think about, things they didn't consider, things they didn't know, from 3 different perspectives, 3 different generations.